If you feel like school didn't get you ready for being an adult or teach you about finances, things are changing, and you're going to want to watch this video to find out how.
Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Philip.
And we teach you what you need to know about being a grown-up.
Because adulting shouldn't suck. We're here in Orlando, Florida at FinCon, and we are here with a fellow YouTuber, and she's going to tell you about what she does and who she is.
Awesome. What is up, y'all? I am Yanely. That's my first name, and my YouTube channel is called MissBeHelpful, and I'm so excited to just be chatting with you guys because all of the work that you all are doing is amazing, and I'm involved in very similar work, so I'm really passionate about this conversation.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, since we talked to a lot of the same demographics, which is typically like 18 to 24,
Yep.
what do you think, I guess starting out, what do you think is the most important piece of financial information or knowledge that they need to learn first?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, like being 18, I didn't know anything. And so what happened was I just went right into making all the mistakes. Because when you don't know anything, you don't know what actions to take, and you don't know what to avoid and what to stay away from. So what I would recommend, if I could go back to being 18 or even, in my 20s, early 20s, is I would start learning about all the mistakes that the people in the generation before me made and how I can do something different to avoid repeating those same mistakes. Because I know plenty of adults around me in my life who had credit cards and who probably had debt and could have probably told me to be careful with them. But I just never asked. I never looked into it. Like, what do you regret? What do you wish you had done to make more money, to be smarter about money? Start asking those questions and start reading books about the basics, because they will include a lot of the stuff that you should stay away from.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Okay, so now, why do you think it's so hard to get financial education in schools?
Ooh, yes. Okay, let's get straight into schools.
Yeah.
We're talking about schools. I mean, that's changing right now, which is amazing, and that's a core part of what we're talking about today. But I think the reason why it's so hard is because of the fact that the system of public education in our country, it's like a dinosaur, right? A lot of systems in this country are like dinosaurs. The laws, the legal system, taxes, education. And in order for you to change that, you have to convince all the people that make the laws to change the laws. So school forever and ever and ever has taught, the basics, math, reading, science, social studies. If you want to add something new to that, you have to convince the people in charge in the schools. You have to convince the community, the parents, the teachers, the students that it's important. You have to convince the superintendents, the principals, the administrators, the lawmakers, the teachers' unions, the representatives, the senators. It's like everyone has to agree that we are going to make this thing different and make it better.
Yeah.
Some people might not agree that that's going to make it better. So now you have to convince and persuade and get people's attention. And that's really hard. So school doesn't tend to change the curriculum often at all, which is why a lot of times, parents see the same thing they were learning when they were in school. This was the same thing than the homework assignment that their kids are getting, even though it's 20, 30 years later. So in order for us to change it, it has to be like a movement. Everybody has to be interested in changing it. So right now, I mean, you all know the work that I'm doing, but for your viewers and subscribers, so I work at a nonprofit called NGPF, and one of the things that our mission, what we're really trying to do is make sure every single one of the 50 states has a full semester of personal finance in high school in order for you to graduate. So it's part of the graduation requirements, because, the only way we're gonna make sure every single kid gets this is if you get it just like you got English language arts and algebra and biology. It has to be part of the required curriculum to make sure everybody's is gonna get it, because right now most schools do it as an elective. So that means if you're lucky and you chose to take that class, you're gonna get it. But what about all the kids that didn't think to take it or didn't know about it or thought it was gonna be boring? They just don't get access. So really making sure it's part of the graduation and the curriculum and the requirements is the only way to make sure everybody gets equal access to this. And we all know this is fundamental stuff. Like your first paycheck, what are you gonna do with it? You're not gonna know if you weren't taught in a formal education setting.
Absolutely. And it's kind of unfortunate because this is one thing that everybody can agree on.
Yes.
That finances, personal finances should be taught down to every student that's in school.
Yes.
And the work that it takes to get this implemented is so much more than we think it should be.
That's right.
I'm sure you agree.
No, I definitely agree. And what you said is true. One of the things that I've been doing and a lot of the work that I'm doing is actually talking to senators and representatives. And I learned that what you said is so accurate. It's not really a political issue. It's a common sense issue. That means that everybody on both sides of political parties all tend to agree that this is important. So no matter what other beliefs they might have, they don't agree on certain things. When it comes to this, they tend to agree. Right. The hard thing is agreeing agreeing on how to do it.
Right.
Is it going to be freshman year? Or is it going to be senior year? Is it going to be an economics class or going to be a math class? Is it going to be, the teachers that are certified in math or social studies, who's going to teach it? Those are the things, the nitty gritty of implementing how. That's where they start arguing and they don't want to agree about. But the truth is, no matter your political views, you tend to say, oh, financial education, yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
That's actually my next question is, what kind of resistance are you getting trying to get this stuff implemented?
Yeah. Those are the big things. When it comes to the schools, they say, how are we supposed to add something? We're already running from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., 3:30 p.m., 3 o'clock. When the bell rings, we're packed tight with the school schedule. When the bell rings, how are we going to add more to the school day? That's going to make it harder for students to graduate high school because now there's extra stuff they got to do.
Yeah.
So what the conversation is actually like to convince them and to persuade them is to say, we don't have to add. What we need to do is update. Look at what you're teaching. A lot of that stuff ain't relevant anymore.
Yeah.
It's 2022, it's not 1992. So we need to look at the curriculum and say, let's take this out, it's no longer relevant, and let's put this in. And a lot of teachers will say, well, there's certain types of math classes that we could take out, there's certain types of electives that we could swap out, and every state kind of makes their own decision. And actually, that's another reason why it's so hard, because education is not a federal or national issue in our country. There's some issues that are like, you know what? If the president says this is how it's going to happen, the whole country has to do it this way. But education is state by state by state. So what you have to learn in New York to graduate is different from what you have to learn in Florida to graduate. Yeah. So that means that we got to go every state one by one, getting this state to pass a law, then that state to pass. So you have 50 states. That's also making it a lot harder.
Yeah.
But then the last thing I'll say about that question is that a lot of times the lawmakers, they'll say well, we don't really want to make anybody upset in the schools. We don't want to force them to do something if they don't want to do it. So let's just focus on local control. If the school districts want to do that, then let them do it. But then some school districts are not going to do it.
And kids get left out.
And then the kids are going to be left out. So it's like, okay, but then that's not access for all. That's not equal access. So just leaving it as the status quo, basically some people are going to get it and some people are not. So yeah, the conversations are definitely, tough, because sometimes people have pushback oh, we don't know how that's going to work with this, with that. But that's where we come in as advocates and say, let me help you with some creative solutions that I got right here. Boom.
Yeah.
Here's a folder full of papers that will show you the data, how other states are doing it and making it work. 4 states in 2022 that did it: Florida, Michigan, South Carolina, and Georgia. How they did it. They're big states. How did they do it?
Yeah.
You can do it too.
Yep, absolutely.
So, speaking of equal access and just people coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds, what kind of advice would you give to somebody that's feeling really discouraged based on how they grew up, or not having any money, or feeling like they have generational curses, and how would they overcome that? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, a lot of that is in your mind. It's your mindset. Of course, a lot of it is physical and literal limitations, like we don't have enough money to know if we're going to be able to pay electric bill or to get groceries, right? But those experiences, they change your brain. And oftentimes they make your brain think that scarcity is a permanent thing in your life. And so what that does is it's like a computer. The computer won't work if a software engineer didn't program it. And every day you are the software engineer of your brain, and it's a computer that you're programming, and what you input to the computer is how the brain is going to output so that you can put effort into the world. When I was leaving, my parents are immigrants, I was in a low-income household, and I always thought I'm never going to be able to really get out of the hood. I'm never going to really be able to make a lot of money because I didn't see that happening anywhere around me. Yeah. But the reality is I started reading about people like me who grew up poor, who grew up in a struggle, who grew up with immigrant parents, who grew up in communities where there was really no access to education or to resources. How did they make it? What's their story? Yeah. And that, it not only did it show me that A, it's possible, but B, it gave me a roadmap. These are some ideas for steps you can take. And that is so inspiring. And when you are in a headspace where you feel like it's scarcity, there's no point in me doing anything, nothing's gonna change, you need inspiration. You need to be inspired so that you can make change. So I would say focus on the psychology, focus on that computer in your head that you are programming every day with your thoughts, with your actions, with your behaviors, your habits, who you talking to, your little friends. Are they helping you progress, or are they making you slack off? Yeah. Because for me, I had a lot of that stuff in my life that I had to let it go, I had to get rid of it, and I had to move on with my mindset. And one of the things I would tell you that really helped me, I used to watch Impact Theory a lot. I don't know if y'all know Tom Bilyeu. Ooh, if you don't know him, check him out. Free YouTube channel, which is amazing. Impact Theory is just a free show of influential people who are really, highly achieving people. And he will sit them down and talk to them about how they overcome crazy challenges in their life and done things that are like, extraordinary. And they're, they started off as regular everyday people.
Yeah.
They weren't always extraordinary. So when I watch those stories of people, it makes me feel like I'm gonna get up and do something. I can do it. I can do what I want to do, because these people are constantly showing you that they have done it.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I can touch on with that is the parents, our parents, they'd always say when we were kids, like, you hang out with them, you're going to be a loser. You hang out with them, you're going to be a loser. And that is one thing that is still the same, and it hasn't changed, right?
Boom.
That is one thing. If you're hanging out with 5 losers, you're going to be the 6th one.
That's right.
And that's 100% still true to this day.
And you hate hearing it as a kid, but it's so true.
So
It's
true.
so true.
It's so true. You are an average of your 5 closest relationships.
Yep.
And I've read that over and over and over again. All kinds of influential people say that. And then I'm like, all right, let me check my phone real quick. Who are the 5 people that I call and text the most? Who do I DM the most? And I look at them and I'm like, all right, I'm doing all right. Like,
Yeah.
these people are doing stuff. They making moves. But I used to have 5 people in my life that were like not really about anything. They weren't ambitious. And this doesn't mean that you need to like straight up ditch your family and ditch your community and leave them behind because they're not about nothing. No, but it just means that you need to be strategic about how much of your energy, how much of your time are you devoting to them.
Yeah.
Decrease that and increase the amount of time you spend watching Impact Theory and reading personal finance books, and watch your life change, watch your mind change.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so now let's say you have a high school kid just getting ready to graduate.
Yep.
What is the best advice that you could give them to go into their early adulthood?
All right, I would say you gotta understand ROI, because
What is ROI?
ROI means return on investment. You cannot get nothing if you don't put something in. Return doesn't come unless you have an investment. It's a return on investment. Now, don't think this is only talking about money, because there's a lot of sweat equity projects out there that you could be doing. Sweat equity means you're putting in the work even if you're not making money.
Yeah.
And that was what I was doing for years when I was reading personal finance books. I think I've read over 100 books about money and personal development, right? And so all that work I was doing, it felt like homework. It was homework. It was homework. Homework that I was doing for myself to get better.
Yeah, working on yourself.
Yeah, and so I feel like after I did all that work, I really realized, like, this is the cheat code. This is the hack. The hack is you need to take the time to understand that what you're putting in is gonna get you a return on your investment. Your investment is time to read, time to learn, time to grow, time to work on yourself. Your investment might be, watching YouTube channels like this, taking notes, right? And then taking action. That it doesn't always mean a financial return on investment, like putting money in the stock market and making money. That will come later, but you need money to make money. So at first, what you need to do is work on yourself, work on your ambition, your goals, your motivation. Find out what drives you so you can use that to make money. I love talking, so YouTube channel was perfect for me, right? Like, and I'm like you guys, I care a lot about financial education and youth, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna put those things together because I love them and I can use them to make money. But you gotta find out what you love. When you're a kid, when you're a teenager, like, a lot of times, you just love hanging out. You love video games. You like, your crush, checking what your crush is doing, looking at them on TikTok and Instagram. It's like, great, but think bigger. Think bigger, because that's only gonna happen for a few years. That's fleeting. Beyond that, you want your life to mean something, you gotta only do that some of the time, and then make time for the things that are more impactful and meaningful in your life. And I know it sounds cliche, but the truth is that's what it is, right? Like, if you're in a situation where you're really young, you have a lot of time on your side. So you can put time in and get a return on the investment of your time.
Yeah, I always like to say be intentional, right? I
Yep.
mean, it's great to have those friends and whatnot, but be focused on who you're hanging out with, just like you were saying. Be intentional. Make those friends that might be doing things bigger than you and hang out with them, learn from them, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and it's intimidating. I'm not gonna lie, because when I hang out with friends that are doing more than me, they're more ambitious, they're more successful, it's a little intimidating.
Yeah.
Like, damn, am I not doing enough? But you know what it is? It also is gonna motivate you to put fire under your butt and get some work done. So it's good to have those type of friends too. And the other thing I was gonna say is kind of like when I first learned about like budgeting. Everybody talks about budget with your money, but we don't talk enough about how to budget your time.
Yeah.
Right? When you look at your budget, you have to see, like, okay, are you spending half of every paycheck buying Starbucks? Like, you're a mess. Like, stop, right? You can spend a little percentage on Starbucks, but you can't spend half your check. Are you spending half your time watching Netflix? Are you spending half your time on Twitch? You need to look at your budget of your time and break it down the same way you would break down your money into different buckets. Spend time with your friends, that's fine, but only some time. The other time, you need to be working. You need to be reading. You need to be learning, growing. Like, You know, worry about your health, your fitness. Think about your mind. How sharp are you? Like, this is the type of stuff that I wish I had learned younger about, like thinking about how I spend my time instead of only how I'm spending my money.
Yeah.
I love it. So many people are just not willing to invest the time that they're not getting paid in developing stuff, and that sweat equity that you're talking about, because they don't budget their time correctly, or they think that they don't have enough time because they're doing all this other stuff and that's not productive.
Right. And maybe it's not that they're not willing also. It might be that they don't believe that doing that is going to lead to change.
Or they don't realize.
They don't realize it. They
haven't
never
exposed
learned
to
it. They never had that idea. Nobody ever told them, look, if you do this, your life will change. And so, not maybe they're not willing or that they don't believe it. They never heard that. They never saw it. They never saw somebody. So when you look for inspirational people and hear their stories, you will see that it's possible. You will see how they did it. And I think that will give people that motivation that sometimes they don't really have.
And it's definitely not an overnight process.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Not at all.
Not at all.
You're not going to lose 50 pounds from today to tomorrow with 8 crunches. No. No. Good luck. Good luck.
So for people who want to know more about everything that you're doing and what you're working on and your upcoming book, how can they find you?
Yeah, so my book is called Mind Your Money. It's going to be out in the middle of next year, 2023. It's definitely targeting, 18 to 25 and even up to 30, 35 because it's focusing on the things that I wish I knew when I was in college, when I graduated college, when I started making a little bit of money. And then if you want to follow me and find out more about what work that I'm doing, you can follow me on MissBeHelpful on YouTube or on Instagram at MissBeHelpful as well.
Awesome. Hey, well, we thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us. We love that we got to meet you here at FinCon, and we look forward to working with you again here in the future. It's been great. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. In the comments below, let us know if you guys have any questions for her.